You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.
I actually just noticed what you were wearing. What's your shirt? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we are Keys to the City. I'm your host, Trevor Keys. Another episode of Keys to the City with your host, T Keys, Trev Keys, and T3, Ted Keys, aka Mr. Grinch.
Bro, I feel like that was so much you just introduced. Like, what did I just hear from you? Like, what?
I just introduced us because I got Paul. I had to.
It was like
I had
six
to.
keys.
I had to. Yeah, T3, Ted Keys, Trev. I said my name twice. I just want to emphasize my name, so I said it twice because of how important I am.
What is he doing?
Well, some people could say, what are they doing to the college football committee? We'll talk about that in a little while because I know there are some frustrated people in the college football world. Down in my state, actually, I should say, Florida is going after the CFP committee. Unbelievable, right? When you don't get your way and you got to bitch and moan and complain, oh, it's not fair. Well, life's not fair. It's a tough shit. Deal with it. They're not one of the four best teams in college football. But we have a special treat for that because we will be joined by a special guest about it. And we'll talk about the college football playoff. But last week, we've been talking, Ted, think about this. This whole entire year, this whole season, he's on mute right now. He's talking. He's not even paid. He'll literally answer. No, well, I know you're talking. It's okay. I was just breaking your stones because I know.
Listen, I was trying to remove the camera, but I didn't want to.
And you're going to be like, wait, what'd you say? I'm going to be like, great. Now I have to do it again. No. And then you're going to repeat to me, wait, you just said the same thing a million times. Because I have to repeat it sometimes to you because I know that your brain, and I love you, you know I'm breaking your stones, and I can only do this to I couldn't do this to anybody else. Your brain takes a while to process things. It's like me. That's why we're very similar.
No, it doesn't. What I was saying,
your brain don't process.
What I was saying is those mini nuggets I just made supposedly are really good.
Well, you can wait another half hour or so.
I'm not eating them right now. I'm just making them for later.
Ted doesn't have a brain. He just told me. Pretty much, that's what he said.
I'm gonna say
you could speak under your breath. It's okay, man. It's okay, Mr. Grinch.
I'm just waiting for you to.
I know. Come on, we can't just go right into it. We gotta just, we gotta feed into it. Listen, I'm breaking your stones. This is what we do. We're brothers. I gotta break your stones here and there. Come on.
Want to get right into it?
We're gonna be stiffs. Because we're stiff.
Well, here's the thing. We're talking NFL first, right?
No, but think about it. This whole year, how we've been talking. Maybe we finally have our answer because we've been saying it, just kind of like the MVP race. We don't know who is the leader of the pack when it comes to the Super Bowl. Well, maybe we just got the answer, Ted, because the San Francisco 49ers, we've been talking about them for so long, for the past couple of years, and how consistently great they've been and consistently dominant they've been, but they haven't been able to accomplish the ultimate feat, which is a Super Bowl championship. They just had a pre-Super Bowl matchup, it felt like, the rematch of last year's NFC title game, and boy, how the results changed. Last year, we remember how the game went. This year, whole different ballgame. Brock Purdy's healthy, and we've been saying, when this team is healthy, they are the most complete and overall best team in football. And if anybody wants to have an argument about that, just go back and watch Sunday's game, and you can tell right from the bat, I'll say after the first quarter, right off the bat, this is the best team in football. And I think we have a clear-cut now go-to favorite of winning the Super Bowl, Ted. When you see this game, having Debo back, I mean, wow. You get Debo Samuel involved alongside with Brandon Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle with a healthy Brock Purdy. Yeah, that's a scary lineup. And you just saw it on display on Sunday. So, Ted, when you see this, it is December 5th. Have we finally can sit here and say that is the Super Bowl favorite? And if they somehow get the number one seed, you can almost book the 49ers playing in Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, this year.
Well, I think, Trev, when we had the discussion earlier in the season, when we had 49ers in the first 5 weeks as the prohibitive favorite in the NFC and maybe in the whole league, we know they're the most talented team in the league. That's not a question. The question is the type of play that they produce on a weekly basis, a very physical type of play. Listen, they have Hall of Famers all over the field. When Trent Williams is healthy, when Debo is healthy, this team is dangerous. You see it. The two top teams in the NFC, Other than the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Cowboys.
And what happened to them this year?
They've gotten crushed by 3 touchdowns. Both teams.
Both gave up 42 points, too.
Yeah, what was it? 42-19?
The total score of their 2 games have been 84-29.
Okay. Oh, wow. So they only scored 10 points. So it was 42-10.
Yeah, remember, it was 42-10.
Now, listen, I think Dallas is a much better team than they were when they played earlier this season? Yeah. Do I think Dak and the Dallas Cowboys have played great football in the last 5-6 weeks? Absolutely. When we got in the argument last week, we discussed the Cowboys, and I'm like, they are very dangerous. But you're like, Ted, who have they played? I get it. Here's –
it's like the Dolphins argument.
But going back to your original question, so I'm not all over the place. Yes, the 49ers, as we know, and we should know, they're the best team in the league when fully healthy. They are. It's not a question of.
But have they established themselves as the favorite, like prohibitive favorite? I'm not saying like a slight favorite. I'm saying that's the team, boom, that's going to win it all.
Well, here's the thing. The Eagles still hold the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Which is yes. But it just shows now the home field advantage doesn't really play a difference because of what they just did on Sunday.
Well, listen, if they play again, as much as I would like the 49ers, playing a team again twice.
Ted, is it a 23-point difference, though?
Oh, no.
Like they just got killed by 23 points.
I think the game is much closer.
They didn't lose by a field goal. They got taken behind the woodshed, Ted, like we like to say, and they got bitch slapped around.
That doesn't bother me. It has no effect on the second game. When you play a team again the second time, you are more highly motivated, especially after the way they lost. Think about it.
Yeah, but that defense has
the Eagles beat by a high school team or one of your rivals, and then you get to play them again. Yeah, a little more motivation.
100%.
Listen, so your focus, the game, everything could be a lot different. And as we've seen in this league, every week there's a major injury of someone's.
It's so unbelievable. Like last night, seeing Trevor Lawrence go down, man. My God.
Remember this conversation we had 4 or 5 years ago with all the major injuries of the quarterbacks?
Hey, it's happening again.
Yeah, not good.
But now it's everybody. It's not just quarterbacks.
Well, especially in the AFC. I mean, you look at the AFC East, Rodgers goes down. Listen, at the end of the day, I still think the Jets would suck. They're not, but they would be more viable for a playoff.
They'd probably be in better contention. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
But they're so awful. And it's not just the quarterback. There's a lot of issues with that team. We're not going to get into the Jets because I don't really care about them. Okay. And then you look at the Browns, right? Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow for the Bengals. Significant injuries for both of those teams. Pickett, I get it. The Steelers. I don't think they're as good.
How about this, Ted? With the Colts, because if you look at the Colts right now, they're
Richardson.
But they're 7-5. If the Colts had Anthony Richardson, where would they be right now?
Well, would they be better? Or Gardner Minshew playing better ball because he's not.
They're only one game back in the and now a completely different AFC. Like the AFC now is my. Like who is going to be who's going to be that team that comes out of the AFC?
Now in the AFC there is no favorite. There is no favorite in the AFC whatsoever.
No.
The NFC is a 3-team race. I've already eliminated Detroit. I don't trust them. Their defense and pass rush.
But with the way that the 49ers is my point is with the way the 49ers have decimated both, not just Dallas, but Philly as well on the road in a game like that. It's got to mean something, man, that they're just like
in the power rankings for this week.
But do you have any trust in Dallas or Philly anymore after what just happened?
You still got to trust Philly, but that's why this game this week, Dallas-Philly, has even more significance.
Oh, yeah.
Because if Philly loses again and then Dallas wins, listen, it changes.
Well, guess who goes to number 1 then?
Dallas, right?
No, it's the 49ers, bro.
49ers. Now, here's the thing. Dallas is a much better team at home in the playoffs than they are on the road. And we know that every team's better usually, except for the Giants, are better home teams than they are. That's the truth. Giants do.
Oh, that's the truth.
That is the truth. So, I mean, listen, would I give Philly a chance? Absolutely. If they had the home field NFC Championship game, Philly home against the 49ers, I'd be like, beware. Because now you got to beat them again.
I would take the 49ers all day, every day over both teams.
I would still be scared.
They prove something. That's something, man.
I get it. Listen, but here's the thing. Were they a little bit motivated off of last year's debacle?
Remember how Ted, think about this.
There was a lot of shit talking.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
They spanked them. But
think about this, though, Ted. Think about this.
Rocking and rolling. And I would not, if I'm the 49ers, I do not want to go to Philly again and have to play them.
Do you remember how poorly they played though in that first quarter? And it was but my thing was, it was only 6-0. Like that's the thing. Philly dominated that whole first quarter. San Fran couldn't get anything going. They had negative yards. Couldn't run the football. Purdy 3 and outs. Bam, bam, bam. And Philly was only up 6-0.
Sounds like a Giant game when they should be up like 14-21-0, and you keep the team in the game.
I'm just saying the 49ers are home or on the road when healthy, because Philly has problems in the secondary and the linebacking crew. They can't cover. They're a different defense than they were last year. Their pass rush is not the same that it was. And Dallas, look, I get it. Their defense is great, but they struggled last week against Seattle. The offense isn't playing lights out. Dak and CD have been one of the best duos in all of football this season. I just can't trust Mike McCarthy in Dallas, man. There's a reason, and I get it, the 49ers are in the same discussion. There's a reason why these two franchises haven't won Super Bowls. The famous franchises, they haven't won Super Bowls in over 30. Dallas 28, San Fran's even longer. There's a reason. I don't trust Dallas fully.
Kyle Shanahan, I think, is never come back from a double-digit deficit.
Yes, and Shanahan, I get it. We like to bash McCarthy a lot, and Shanahan always gets a lot of praise. But look at Shanahan over the past with the decisions he's made. Well, if we all remember, he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons in the epic 28-3 collapse game.
And you can make the argument the MVP race is the 3 quarterbacks in the NFC.
Purdy, best teams in football?
No, their quarterbacks are the MVPs. I would say Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and then Baltimore, and then probably Lamar.
I would say Jalen Hurts was leading up until last week.
Not anymore.
I think Dak and Purdy are 1 and 2. That's what Vegas says.
I know, that's crazy.
For what the favoritism
gives me more hope that my boy CJ Stroud could come out of nowhere and win me some money, baby.
No, I think that's where Tyreek.
How is that? Wait, but how is that not realistic though? CJ Stroud. I know we're talking about the 49ers, but CJ Stroud, think about it. The Jacksonville Jaguars just lost their franchise quarterback for at least a month or so, maybe the rest of the season. Don't know how the severity of the injury is, but
just a ball game with them.
They can win. You're telling me.
Oh, we all think the Colts. The Colts could win the division.
I get it. But I'm talking about the MVP specifically think about Houston. We projected Houston to be, they're going to have, Arizona's going to get 2 top 5 picks because they're going to get Houston's pick. Houston's in a full-on rebuild. And they're 1 game back now of the AFC South. And now with Trevor Lawrence out, who's to say that the Houston Texans, I know they lost Tank Dell. Huge, huge loss for that offense. But who's to say the Houston Texans are not hosting a playoff game come January?
Oh, absolutely.
And who's to say that he doesn't have a shot at MVP? He's got to be in the running. I know it's a quarterback, and I posted a poll yesterday, and thank you for all the comments and the feedback. I saw a lot of names. I saw Tua. I saw a lot of Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey. I definitely believe that those two should deserve to be in the conversation. But as we all know, it's the worst kept secret in sports. It is a quarterback award, and that's why every year the MVP, just like the Heisman, is going to go to a quarterback. It never goes to a skill position player, never goes to a defensive player. It's just how the way is. They should make a whole separate award like college does with the Davey O'Brien Award. They should just have a separate award for the NFL and say who's the best quarterback, because that's what it comes down to. What's the point of having an MVP? I was just so impressed with the 49ers, the way they started, though, and for the next 3 quarters, they just said, come here, Philly. I got to talk to you for a few minutes. And then bam, 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 it was over. I sent you a picture. It literally was like watching Apollo Creed against Ivan Drago. Like the first quarter, Apollo's getting the jabs. He looked good. He looks like Apollo. And then all of a sudden, the second quarter came on and Debo came. Instead of Drago, it was Debo. And bam, the right hand, bam, bam, bam. And you know how the story finishes in Rocky IV. And you saw how the story finished in Philly. The Philadelphia Eagles got their ass kicked. They got embarrassed. And it was but it was also, and Ted, I'm going to give you this point. I'm going to give you some brownie points, because you have said in the past couple weeks, Philadelphia, the way they've been trailing, the way they've been struggling to get it going offensively, and I kind of defended them. I was defending them in the sense of, hey, they still have this championship mentality because no score is ever they're never out of the game because they just stay composed.
But they weren't going to get.
But then you finally saw it. Hey, maybe this game Sunday was just more of an eye opener.
I mean, you just look at it. I mean, look at another dangerous team is the Green Bay. I mean, you look at, we thought the Eagles win over the Chiefs. It was significant when we know the Chiefs should have won that game. the Green Bay just spanked the Chiefs. They were controlling the game for most of the points. So the Chiefs are not as dangerous. The AFC is wide open. The NFC is very.
Could be the year that Lamar finally does it.
The NFC is a 3-team race, and there's no one else. I don't trust Detroit.
I still think
I think Detroit can, maybe win a game or two. I think the Rams could be dangerous. I think Green Bay could be dangerous with Jordan Love.
Yeah, Green Bay's looking dangerous.
I think really that's what it's going to be. You're going to see the Rams.
I still think that the NFC is the 49ers are a heavy favorite in my book.
Oh, of course. The NFC South is awful. But it's Dallas Eagles. I think Green Bay is going to jump Minnesota. So it'll be Detroit and Green Bay. There's your 4. You'll have the one NFC South team, and then I think the Rams. Oh no.
Think it's over Minnesota? I mean, Justin Jefferson's going to be back.
I think the Rams can make a run because you look at Seattle's schedule down the stretch. I don't know if they have. Listen, it doesn't really matter because the 3 teams, Dallas, Philly, and 49ers, are head and shoulders above everyone else. And if 49ers are playing the way they did Sunday, no one in the league can beat them. No one can beat them in the
Amen
league.
To that, yeah.
They literally have the best running back in the league. There's, we talk about all these good running backs.
Do they have the best set of skilled players in the NFL? Now think about this. Because think about the team.
Yeah. Ayuk and Debo.
You would take it over Philly?
You got Ayuk and Debo. Those are receivers. Kittle's your running back. McCaffrey's your
would you take it over Philly? I would say Philly, Dallas, Miami, and Cincinnati.
Well, Dallas has only got CD,
Pollard, and Ferguson. Ferguson's a good tight end.
But then Cooks. Yeah, I would take 49ers.
How about Miami?
No, they don't have the tight end, and they don't have the running backs are not bad. But McCaffrey is the best running back in the league. It's not even close. He's such a difference maker. That's why he's getting paid $16 million a year, because he's just better than everyone else. It's not even close.
And Debo might be the best. And Debo might be the best player, like all-around player, in the sense of like just give him the ball. And he might be one of the best playmakers in all of football,
especially because he can play running back and receiver. Kittle is just a beast, blocking and run. And then Ayuk is one of the most underrated number 1 receivers in the league. Jawan Jennings, Trent Williams, left tackle. And they have the quarterback who just runs the offense flawlessly. He's flawless. He's number 1 in like every quarterback stat, except for like passing touchdowns. He's 4th. Completion percentage, QBR, yards per attempt. He's number 1. Go look. I mean, he's either top 1 or top 4.
So you buy into the fact that Brock Purdy can easily win a Super Bowl.
This is their best chance.
Oh, yeah.
With the way the league is set up this year, where like Burrows are and the Bills are down and the Chiefs are down and the Cowboys still have some question. Right? They're hot. Dallas would be a little nerve-wracking for me if you don't like the Cowboys. Eagles are down a little bit this year. They're not like.
Well, they just signed. I mean, big signing yesterday. We'll see how that plays out. Shaq Leonard is now a Philadelphia Eagle.
Shaq Leonard and Kevin Byard.
And here's my thing, because 49ers next couple of weeks they play Seattle this week at home. They should take care of Seattle. And they play the Cardinals. And then on Christmas night, a massive matchup in the NFL. On Christmas night, ABC 8:15, it's the San Francisco 49ers taking on a possible Super Bowl matchup in the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, wow.
That's Christmas night. Wow. That is Christmas night. So for all the people that might complain about Christmas games, wow. You might have the number 1 seeds in both conferences playing a week left of the season. Talk about and think about how think about the NFC. The 49ers just kicked the shit out of the Eagles. They're not even the 1 seed. And then Dallas has 3 losses. The Lions, with their easy schedule, still have 3 losses. So it doesn't matter. Like, the margin for error is so thin with that NFC. And then the AFC is the same thing. You don't know who's coming out of it. And that's why the season's been so fascinating. In the sense, but it's also been heartbreaking because of the fact of you've seen all these injuries. The reason why it's become so wide open is because of the injuries, the impactful injuries, I should mind you, as well. It's not just any injuries. We're talking franchise quarterbacks, franchise players for this team, and they're all out. And it just adds an opening for an AFC team to, who knows, maybe Miami finally gets to a Super Bowl, because I'm still not a firm believer in them. I get it. Their offense is unbelievable. It's like watching the greatest show on turf or the fastest team on turf. But I have to see them beat. I have to see them have a convincing win over a team that I believe is in that contender tier. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to play Dallas. They still got to play Buffalo. Like,
so here we go. Hey, let me interrupt you while you're talking. And I'm just going to go over the schedule. So you got the Titans this week. Should be a win. Now I'm talking about Miami right now.
Yes, I know. I'm listening. I hear.
The Jets should be easily a win. There should be no questions about
No.
Okay. The last 3 weeks, there you go. You have Dallas at home, at the Ravens, and last game of the season home against the Bills, which the Bills might desperately need to win to get the playoff, and Miami might need to win to get the number 1 seed.
That's what I'm trying to say is that
those are the last 3 games. Those are your tests. You're going to have the Cowboys, you're going to have the Ravens and Bills, and the Bills, depending on the situation, could be playing to get into the playoffs, which
I think can I say something right now? I know it's Tuesday. I think the Bills beat the Chiefs this week. I have not been impressed with
huge game. That's a huge game.
Oh, of course. I believe the Chiefs are going to lose.
So that's that's the real test for Miami at the end of it. Listen, I don't have the schedule all in front of me going through every single week, but I can just tell you though, the last 3 or 4 weeks because I know the Bengals were still supposed to play the Chiefs.
Well, Dallas, don't think about this. You're still going to have a matchup, but I just told you about San Fran, Baltimore. Massive. Dallas still has to play Detroit.
Dallas has to play the Bills, Detroit, Philly, and Miami.
Think about that. Come on.
But that's great, though.
Oh, I get it. But think about it. Like, we see how this NFC is. It's it's going on week 14 right now. Is it week 14 this? Okay, so you got 4 weeks left. You got a month left. Think about that. And we still are sitting here saying, don't know who's going to be the 1 seeds in each conference.
We got Eagles this week at the Bills, at the Dolphins, home against the Lions, at the Commanders. That's how the Cowboys. So, hey, listen, that's why this Cowboys-Eagles game is so significant considering.
What is the schedule this week? Other than, I know there's some massive games. I want to look quickly.
If you want me to. So,
yeah. Can you give me the schedule, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. For some reason, it went to this past week. So, who cares about the Thursday night game? Atlanta, Tampa Bay, no one cares. Detroit, Chicago, no one. Trying to look for now. The Cleveland-Jacksonville game has significance now.
Yeah, definitely.
Rams, Baltimore has some significance. Playoff. Seattle, San Francisco, Buffalo at Kansas City, Denver at the Chargers, Philly at Dallas, and then there's 2 Monday night games.
Don't forget about the biggest game Monday night in the worst stadium in all of the NFL. It's Tommy freaking Cutlets. He's back, baby. He's starting. He's starting this week.
So Tennessee at Miami and Green Bay at the Giants.
Ted, all I want for Christmas, can you just get me a T-shirt saying Tommy Cutlets, please?
No, I'm good.
Come on. Tommy Chicken Parm, baby.
Oh, relax. So, yeah, there are some significant games this week. I'm just looking quick,
Come on, bro. Tommy Coleslaw.
Next we're
gonna have Tommy. We're gonna have Tommy Coleslaw, baby.
So next week we have games on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh yeah, that's when they start doing the Saturday.
Yeah, we got Minnesota at Cincinnati. The Saturday game is Minnesota at Cincinnati, Pittsburgh at Indianapolis, Denver at Detroit. So 1-4.
So we got a lot of great games. We still have a lot. We still have a lot of figuring out to do in the NFL. Another huge slate of games this coming weekend. Games that are going to be impacted playoff wise, divisional. I mean, Dallas could be Dallas can easily be the NFC East leader right after this weekend.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, it's there's a lot of figuring out to do.
But that's why it's great that at the end of the week, I was just looking like next week, Monday night game is Philly at Seattle. You got the Bills and Dallas, the 4:25 window.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was it?
Imagine and think about this. You don't have to have a committee decide the teams that are going to make the playoffs.
Well, they also have 7 teams that make it in each division, so it's different.
And they might still miss out somebody, and somebody still may be complaining. Maybe it might be in the state of Florida again. You never know. But let's get over to the other massive debate that has been going on in the sports world. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very special treat because it is the return. It has been long overdue, very long overdue. And ladies and gentlemen, we got to get a little bigger because he's back. Mr. Joseph Aguirre is here. It's been a long overdue. We're going to get him back on because there's a lot of shit going on.
That was like a Pat McAfee introduction off of WWE.
That was big. I like that a lot.
But Joe, it's been long overdue. We got a lot of stuff going on right now. Eventually we got to talk about the Yankees because there's a lot of stuff going on with the New York Yankees. But you are here because we're talking college football. And there's an angry bunch of people right now in the college football world that is just, what are you going to do? The harsh reality. I get it.
Listen, we all knew it was going to happen once Georgia lost. If Georgia won, we'd have no issue.
And it's funny, last week on All Four Downs, I predicted Alabama would upset Georgia in a close game. And in my scenario, both of them were going to be in the college football playoffs under the justification of, look, 4 years ago, I hated Alabama. And I
What do you love them now or something?
I do. Yes. I literally.
He's gone to the dark side.
I did it. I
But
did
listen,
it.
people only hate
I'm
Bama
happy
because-
with it.
People only hate Bama because they're sick of seeing Bama good. It's like when the Yankees,
Yes.
why people hate the Yankees? Because they're just great every year, except for the last couple of years. We have nothing to say. But go on.
It's hard to argue that the top two teams in football aren't Alabama and Georgia. I mean, plain and simple. I've heard people suggest it was a down year in the SEC. I don't think so at all. I thought that was the best game I've seen this year as far as two top teams going head to head. Both teams played up to their strengths. And in the end, obviously, Bama did it. Look, what happened to FSU is a shame. And in the future, that will never happen. The 12-team playoff, I know Teddy likes the 8, and Ted, I just said to someone the other day, the year there's 9 good teams, we're going to be pissed if there's 8.
Well, and you know what? Next year we're going to have a 13 team. Like, the team with 2 losses over.
I don't think so.
I don't see that happening.
I don't think there's ever been a scenario where you could argue the 13th team. But I would say, look at
can I argue this for 1 second?
Look at the top 10 this year.
It wasn't
pretty good. Pretty good. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
But it stopped at 8, Joe. As we said, it stopped at Oregon. That's where it stopped. It never went 9 or 10.
We complain about 68 with March Madness. Who's the 69th? We complained about the 65th. How does Syracuse not get in? And then this team gets in. Or how's a team like Weber State who goes 30-1 but loses their conference championship doesn't get in, but a Syracuse team who was 8-12 or 8-14 got into March Madness? We complain about that. So it is unfortunate because this is a business. That's what people have to realize. And Joe, your scenario where Georgia and Alabama get in makes sense because the SEC has so much pull. Okay, their cojones drop a little bit farther than everyone else's. I get where people go, oh, it's an SEC love, but it's always been.
Ted,
and guess what?
I've always felt the Power 5 conference committee exists mostly to promote the SEC. It's always felt that way to me. Long before I was into the SEC, the SEC has always been their baby. They've always shown preference to it. Nothing's changed. The Pac-12, to me, has been disrespected for years. I saw scenarios where they would leave Washington out undefeated. It wouldn't have been right. Somebody was going to get screwed. But listen, here's the other thing, and why I like the 12. And before I move on for a minute, let's say the same thing happens next year. Bama upsets Georgia in the SEC championship game. What if Iowa had beaten Michigan? What if Louisville had beaten Florida State? Now you could take all those one-loss teams. They all can still go in, and all your conference champions are still in, and it still leaves you a chance to bring in a Liberty or a Missouri because you've got the 12.
So next year, if that were to happen, say, so if Iowa were to say Iowa beat Michigan this year or something like that, or Louisville, if this was next year, would they have been the college football recipient of the conference? Then would Iowa have been playing in the college football playoff? Not how that would have worked. That's what I'm trying to, because all they're saying is what they're saying is next year is that the Power 6 conference are going to get all the division winners. They're going to be automatically in. Then you're going to have 6 at-large bids. So say Iowa won or Louisville won this week. Are they getting into the college football playoff?
At the end of the day, next year, out of 12 teams, there's going to be 10 teams from the SEC and Big Ten, 5-5.
I know.
It would have been Iowa, Michigan, and Ohio State. You would have had Georgia, Missouri, Texas, Oklahoma, and Alabama. There's your 9. And then you would have thrown in Florida State as the 10. And then you would have been Washington, Oregon, 11 and 12. That would have been.
Here's the thing about people that are arguing about Florida State. I get it. They did everything right. They had a solid non-conference schedule. They ran their gauntlet. They went undefeated in their conference. They won their conference. But here's the thing, and Colin made a good point too. The ACC has been so bad. It's the worst conference to me out of the Power 5. And to the point that I didn't know this, to the point that Florida State was trying to get out of the ACC a few years back. So what does that say? And now we want to bitch and moan about it because they didn't get it. I get it. It's so unfortunate. But this is not the same Florida State team they were 2 weeks ago. I get it. They beat a Florida team. They won their next 2 games. But Florida, let's be honest, Ted, was not a good football team. And then they beat a Louisville team who, was number 10 at the time, Joe, or 14. They dropped them to 13, so they were a top 10 team. But we really saw that team as That was the best the ACC had to offer. There was nobody competitive in the ACC. It was just Florida State. Clemson had an awful year. Miami had a down year. Virginia Tech had a down year.
Yeah,
those are usually the main teams, and the ACC has been so bad.
They tried to sell us on a couple of basketball schools, Carolina and Duke, earlier in the year. As soon as they both got ranked, they both immediately began their precipitous falls. Louisville, as you said, was 10, and then they lost to another basketball school, Kentucky, at home.
But they only
number 10 ranked.
And Joe, what did they do? They dropped to 13 because they tried to make it respectable for Florida State.
Yes, they did.
And you said that they tried to drop them 3 spots or 4 spots. Whoa. Okay, so Louisville loses to Kentucky. This is what fascinates me. Louisville loses to Kentucky. And I think they lost. I don't know how much they lost by, but they lost and dropped from 10 to 13 or 14. Okay. Yep. So Georgia.
Yes, I knew you
Georgia,
were
the team that's won 29, and I'm not a Georgia fan at all, but the team that's won 29 straight wins, 2 national championships.
They have the most to bitch about.
But hold on, to most fans thought up until last week, nobody was beating them this year again. Right. They might have won for the 3-peat. Okay. So they dropped 1 to 6 when they lost to Bama, who was 8. And they jumped to 4 and only lost by 3 points in a great game, like Joe was saying. It was an unbelievable game. It was like a pre-college football semifinal already, and they dropped 5 spots. I get it. Florida State won their conference, undefeated, did everything right. But if there's one team that should be more pissed off, is the Georgia Bulldogs. So you go from 1 to 6. When you lost the SEC championship to Alabama, the name, and you don't even have to say anything else in the sense of where the ranks are. It's the name too, Alabama. The way college football loves and is infatuated with Alabama, the brand. They dropped 1 to 6. And you remember last year? Georgia has a better argument.
Yeah, remember last year when TCU lost the Big 12 championship and they
went and they only lost 3 to 4.
To 4. Yeah,
but and
again, imagine exactly what you're saying, that you would lose to Alabama on a neutral field by 3, and you drop 5 slots.
Here's the argument, though. Here's the thing, though, Joe. Because the reason they did that, they couldn't have 2 teams in the SEC. If they had 2 SEC teams in the college football playoff this year, Joe, can you imagine? Could you imagine the uproar that people would be losing their effing minds? They would lose it.
Does it strike you that the Power 5 committee gives a crap how people react? Because they've done this before.
Yeah.
They always show preference to the SEC teams. They always have. Why people are shocked by this is beyond me. And by the way, earlier in the week, the committee chairman literally said, this is not the 4 most deserving teams. It is the 4 best. Well, but despite saying that, he left Georgia out, which blows my mind.
Joe, let me ask you this. I want to ask you both this.
You can make the argument, Trev, that Ohio State's one of the 4 best teams.
Me and Joe talked about that too.
We talked about that.
Because I would say if you had Ohio State and Washington on the same field, I think Ohio State would be favored.
So my argument to both of you then, if Georgia's one of the 4 best teams, who are you taking out?
Texas.
Okay, then you can't put Alabama in.
You
cannot put. There's going to be an argument for it, Ted.
We think Texas was so great, but if you watch them this year, okay, we live on that Alabama win in September 9th when they didn't know we didn't know Alabama's quarterback, and Alabama, who's the quarterback who won the championship, actually got benched for someone else, then came back in. You look at this Bama team. I told you they were probably going to beat Georgia because they were hitting their stride and they were dangerous, and no one wanted to play them. But you look at this Texas team. Should have lost to Kansas State if the coach doesn't go for 2 and they missed the field goal. Should have lost to TCU multiple times. They beat an Oklahoma State team, which honestly, guys, like Missouri would have beat Oklahoma State. I mean, they were a pitiful team, but because they won by 30 points, we thought they were something special. But if you watch them throughout the season, they didn't dominate anyone throughout the season. Okay, yes, I got it. They're holding their head on the biggest win maybe of the season other than the Alabama over Georgia win in Alabama. But we've talked about this, Trev, in high school football and other sports. You want to play certain teams early in the season. Catch them before, like, a new quarterback. Yeah, a veteran team, it makes no difference. But, like, if they got a new starting quarterback like Alabama did this year, you want to get to them early, first couple of weeks where they're off stride. That's like Texas A&M always used to be.
But, okay, if you're saying that point, it's –
So, like Joe said, it's not deserving. It's best 4 teams.
Yeah.
Now, how to decipher the 4 best teams is really hard because you could say Michigan's not one of the 4 best teams. Talent-wise, they maybe are, but who do they beat all year, really? They beat a Penn State team. They beat a Penn State team, which, Joe, I know you guys have talked about on all 4 downs, usually always highly overrated. They're really good. They beat all the shit teams, but they can't beat the good teams. We've seen that. You guys have talked about Ohio State and Michigan. Every year they lose 1,000 times, and they lose by double digits. So Penn State, by its name, gives you the extra boost, but really they're a B-plus team, never been an A team. Haven't been an A team since the 80s. And then, I mean, you go to Florida State, they beat 4 teams that had backup quarterbacks this year. 4 teams they played at. Duke had a backup quarterback. Florida had a backup quarterback. I forget the other 2, but they had 4 teams with backup. I think Clemson had a backup quarterback. I understand they beat LSU, but it was the first week of the season, neutral site, whatever. But that LSU win doesn't look that great considering LSU.
But that's what I was going to say. If you're going to use the argument of, oh, well, Texas beat Alabama, then Florida State fans should stop using the argument of, oh, well, we beat LSU. I get it. It was, but still, if you're putting Texas, if you're taking Texas out and you're putting Georgia in or Alabama, you can't have Alabama in. You just can't. You literally can't, because I don't care if it was in September. It was a head-to-head matchup, and I get it. Alabama was not Alabama who they are now, but it was a head-to-head matchup. Alabama was the favorite, and it wasn't like Texas won on a field goal. Texas won by double digits. Like, that's the thing. If Texas doesn't get in, if you put, from Joe's logic, if you put Georgia in and you're taking Texas out, you're not putting Bama in. It's just not happening.
Well, I get it, because you want to give the credit to winning your conference championship.
No, right? Because you have to stick to the criteria that you've been preaching for years. I told this to Joe. They always have a criteria. It's head to head, this and that. Yeah, it's not conference. But guess what? They always go against it.
So if you had 13 actual football coaches or players, and like Heather Dinich was talking about this morning, every vote a guy is private. I don't know what Joe votes, and you don't know what I vote. The only person that knows the votes is the commissioner, the guy, Bo. Okay, they do the first 4, then they do the next 4, then they finish out with the last 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So everyone doesn't know how everyone's voting. Okay, it's everything's hidden, which I don't understand why we're hidden, because if we know everything else in presidential elections, why don't we know what you vote? You know what I mean? Why does everything have to be a secret? Like, the problem is, we have to stop pretending like this is real football. This is a business, okay? If the SEC was
it's a corrupt business, if anything.
No, it's not, because at the end of the day, this is about money.
That's an oxymoron anyway. Corrupt business is the same as saying successful business. You got to be doing something.
Yeah. This is a legit. Listen, let's be honest. And no one ever wants to say the truth. Like, hey, why don't we hire the black guy? Or why don't we have this guy? Or why don't we have a woman? Listen, if the SEC was not in the football playoff, the ratings and the money that would be accumulated normally would be significantly lower, just like in the World Series when the Diamondbacks are playing the Rangers. No one gave a shit. But if the Yankees were playing the Dodgers, the ratings would be through the roof. Okay? What drags? That's why the SEC championship game was $450 minimum ticket to get in, and it was $42 to see Oregon and Washington, which was a playoff game. It was literally a playoff game. Every other game, if you added the money up, didn't equal to the SEC. Now, maybe because they mean more, maybe it's life and death, not that the other ones, but there's a significance, okay? Watch the Alabama. I'm going to steal it from Colin Cowherd. Watch the Alabama-Michigan game, other than maybe the Michigan-Ohio State game, be the most viewed game of the whole entire season. Because you don't think Saban versus Harbaugh is not a story? Alabama-Michigan?
And think about this.
And it's at the Rose Bowl. Think about it.
And if you think about this, if you want to make it even wilder.
Trev, the last thing I was going to finish with is we knew the system was flawed when you have 5 conferences and only 4 teams can make it, and you're talking about the Power 5 conference. That means if everyone had 1 loss and they had a champion, 1 team would always be left out. And it doesn't matter. And more likely than not, as Joe was saying, usually it's the Pac-12, because they're always looked at as the stepchild from the other side of the bridge. All right. Yep. But this year, you can make the argument that was the best conference. I mean, up until like USC started fading, but Oregon State, Utah, I mean, maybe if the quarterback was healthy, it would have been different. But Utah, Oregon State, Oregon, Washington State.
Arizona was a top
team. So you're talking about 6-7 teams that were legit top 25 teams. You know, and really, if you look at the SEC, what was there? 4 teams. Ole Miss, but they're always like the Penn State. They're right there, but never close enough. Missouri had a great season this year. Yeah. I think their 2 losses were to
Georgia. They lost to Georgia. I think they had 1 loss. 1 or 2 losses. I forgot who it was.
But you're talking. It's really a 2-team race. LSU never got to where we expected them to. once they lost to Florida State, and then they had the other one, Alabama. So it was really a 2-team race. So the SEC is always carried by those two powerhouses. Those two teams are so head and shoulders and drag everyone else up because of what they represent. The ACC, here's the other thing, and I'm sorry I'm running on. The ACC also last year voted against a 12-team playoff for this year. That's something they should think about. They're the ones that voted it down. Eek! Also, here's the other thing. Clemson and Florida State was trying to get out of the ACC this year.
I know. I just said it. They've been trying to get out of the ACC for years.
If you read about it now, this is even more of a reason why they don't want to be in the ACC, because they're going, look at the Big Ten, look at the SEC the next 5 to 10 years with the new realignment. We're only going to get one team in. So if we don't win it again, and who are we playing? We're playing Duke, Wake Forest. Sorry, to basketball schools. It's not going to work. And here's the other component that no one ever talks about. Notre Dame is an independent school. They have power. They have a vote on the final.
Maybe if they play Notre Dame, it would have helped them.
The other team that becomes part of the equation on this situation.
All I was going to say is, too, if you want to know how the college football playoff got it right, just go watch the video of Michigan seeing the reveal of Alabama as the 4 team. You think they want to play Alabama? They were all praying and hoping that it was going to be the Florida State Seminoles, because the moment they saw Alabama, do you know what that was? That was a big, and pardon my French, that was a big fuck you to John Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, but they weren't going to.
You want to cheat? Guess what? Go against Saban. No. Go against the SEC champions.
No, they weren't.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just
put them in front of Texas because of the Texas win. But like Joe said, it's the 4 best teams, because Vegas already did the odds. Like every team that would have played Florida State, even Oregon, would have been favored by at least a touchdown. Georgia 2 touchdowns. They're already favored. I get it. The Jordan Travis injury is devastating. It sucks because it was against North Alabama. I wish he wasn't even playing. They probably still would have won the game, because they were automatically in, and we're not even having this discussion. It's really unfortunate that you do everything they ask, win your conference, go undefeated, and you don't get in. But really, they don't want to happen what happened last year in the national championship, and like we see them in the semifinals, where it's 42-20 is the average score in the semifinal game. That's what we see every effing year. Except last year, the semifinals were great, and the national championship sucked. Like that's what they were fearful for. It was like, we're going to put Florida State with the backup quarterback against Michigan. We just watched that against Iowa. Maybe a little bit more talented, but
maybe they scored 10 points. Maybe they scored 10 points.
So yeah, Alabama, Michigan wins 42-17. It's like great game. Who the hell cares?
And then all the same fans that are bitching and moaning right now. Oh, well, Florida State deserved it. But so if you watch on New Year's Day and it was 42-17, I bet you'll be like, oh well, at least they participated.
I wish Georgia was in. I wish Alabama was in.
Yeah, by the way, you started to ask me, I think, which of these 4 I would swap out for Georgia, and I hate to say it, but it would be Michigan.
No.
I think, listen, I thought Teddy kind of hit this before. Listen, if you asked me to pick the top 4, I would have left Michigan out.
No,
the only win that they had this year was Ohio State. Okay? A game they could have lost. The Penn State doesn't do it for me. It just never does.
Their schedule was awful.
Their schedule was kind of weak. There wasn't any huge wins from them. They've got a good defense, but to me, it just isn't enough. I hate to say this because they're the number 1 team in the country now, but to me, if I had to cut one of them and I put Georgia in, Michigan would be the one I would take out. And I know people would be flipping, and of course, that would mean 2 undefeated conference champions would be out. But if we're just picking the best 4, I'd have to have Alabama and Georgia in there. Texas, by virtue of beating Bama, obviously winning a conference championship. And by the way, took care of business in the conference championship by pounding the crap out of a bad Oklahoma State team.
Yep.
Florida State didn't do themselves any favors skating by.
And Washington, for the most part, dominated the Pac-12 game against Oregon.
And that's what I was going to say, too.
I was really impressed with them.
You realistically had, and before we even got to this situation, you technically had 3 pre-college, and I told you both this. You had 3 pre-college football playoff matchups in Ohio State, Michigan. That was going to take care of itself. Then you had Washington, Oregon. That was going to take care of itself. And then the SEC championship, it was going to take care of itself. So you technically had all your,
3 teams that won those significant games got in, and
in the playoff.
the outlier.
And the other three are not playing in the college football.
I do agree with Joe's statement earlier, though.
What?
It's hard to think about that. That Georgia just went 2 years straight.
I said it's like
didn't lose a game for 29 straight games,
and they dominated, bro.
How to play your biggest rival, your toughest component, toughest coach, maybe the most dynastic. I was gonna say dynastic, but that's probably not the word. But the best dynasty we've seen in college football. Like
that is a great word, by the way, and it's proper. Dynastic.
That was a big word for you, Ted. I give you a round of applause for Ted. Round of applause. He's wearing the great shirt. He's thinking smart. He's thinking holly jolly right now.
But to think that like your two best offensive players, tight end and receiver, were both banged up into the thing.
Not 100%.
You lost to Bama. I get it. At the end of the day, we don't make excuses for anyone. You got to play.
By 3
points.
3.
And
wasn't by like 20.
And you dominated everyone you played. Multiple. And the one game you lost in 2 years, you just don't have a chance to like.
You dropped 5 spots.
To defend the title. Yeah. And that's what's killer. It's like, I would almost like, no, they were 6. Georgia was 6.
Yeah, they dropped 5 spots.
I know, but that's
crazy. They dropped 5 spots.
And the thing was, I think that was like, hey, listen, we already effed Florida State. We're not going to put you at 6 to make it even worse. Like, hey, I get it, you're 13-0, but we still think 2 teams because we all know they're better teams.
I get it. It's a different. This is a different Georgia team for the past 2 years, but still, you got to give them some respect to it.
I know what people would say, Georgia. Well, you should have won your game. I get it. But you know what? Alabama lost that one regular season game. I mean, like, and I said this to Trev. It's when you lose, not who you lose to.
Right. Well, listen, not for nothing.
If you lose early in the season,
week before,
you have plenty of time to gain the momentum and build it. If you lose at the end of the season, that automatically kind of knocks you out. That's why that Michigan-Ohio State game is so significant because it's the last game of the season. It's literally like
I wish they did it at the. I wish they did it in week 1.
The person settles for second best.
I want to put a petition. Guys, sign it with me. I want to put a petition out that Ohio State, Michigan plays in week 1.
Yeah,
plays in week 1,
brother. Not week 1, but I do find it unfortunate though that Ohio State, literally after that loss, as great as they've been, no recourse
because they were 1-2. Joe, they were 1-2 for the majority of the season. In the all year.
It doesn't strike me as right how any of this played out. And again, I feel Ohio State, after they lost to Michigan, a really tight game, it's like you're out.
Was this a lose-lose for the college football playoff committee?
Of course it was.
No, it's every reason why they need to expand out to 12. I think everything we've ever feared came true this year, where you had multiple undefeated conference championships and then a lot of really good one-loss teams.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really good two-loss teams even that,
Oregon, Missouri. Yeah.
To me, this is the one year where it's like, I think 12's the right number. Will there be a couple teams that get blown out in the first round of yes, of course, there'll be mismatches. But to me, there's no way you don't get everybody in who deserves it with 12.
Yeah, I mean, you get everyone in, and then you.
I think people are getting confused.
Everyone's getting out because of the conferences. You're going to have more games. You're going to have USC versus Michigan. You're going to have those games, so they'll all be decided. And I think less likely.
I think people get the word.
The worst case scenario for the final year, but it also proves the point of what we've been screaming about is we need at least 8 or 6. You know what I mean? Like 6 with the first 2. Which 6 I've been fine with 2. 1 and 2 having a bye, and I think 6 this year would have made a legit argument because then
I think the NCAA basketball tournament has shown us, right? I mean, we went our whole lives, Teddy. A 1 beating a 16 would never happen, and now it's happened. It's happened a couple times. A 2 beating a 15 never happened. We've seen that a few times.
Yep.
3s. I mean, we're seeing it, and that's what parity in sports is. And it's made that basketball tournament even more impressive. And they've expanded out now where there's a couple play-in games. We're up to 68. And there's still times where we're like, well, what about Syracuse? What? You're always going to – I don't mind putting more in. Eventually, I think you'll whittle it down. But you look, any given Sunday's an expression for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, we assume a Liberty could never compete with any of these teams. Maybe though.
How about when Western Michigan won when they played with Corey Davis in the Cotton Bowl and they beat, I believe, Penn State.
Florida State.
Wasn't Florida State? How about Central Florida when they had Blake Bortles and they beat Baylor and they went undefeated? I mean, you've had teams,
and those are the years when we were screaming about them. But at the end of the day, Trev, when New Year's comes up, no one's going to care, and they're going to have 20 million.
You're going to be sitting down at 5:45 watching Alabama, Michigan, and either ruin or.
I was surprised that was the first game and not the second game.
I'm surprised they didn't put. I'm surprised they didn't put Washington. They didn't put Washington in the Rose Bowl.
Well, no, probably location. You want to balance it.
Washington going to the Sugar Bowl.
Michigan, Alabama.
That's like a home game for Texas.
Yeah. Where? Yeah, I mean,
come on. It's in Atlanta.
The problem is Texas is central anywhere. They're right in the dead center. So if you go to Rose Bowl, they're that way.
I would have preferred to have the night game as Alabama, Michigan.
But you know what I think, Trev? You know what I think? You also think? The later the night goes on, less likely to get viewership because people are at parties and doing things.
No, but also it's New Year's Day. People are starting to go back to work, right? People go back to work.
No one works on New Year's Day.
No, people start going. Drunk. No, because it's on New Year's Day, so people start going back to work.
It's on New Year's Day. Like you're going in for the
because the NFL is on a Sunday, December 31st. We have NFL football on Sunday, December 31st this year, Ted. Don't you remember? You should know, Ted. That's the day that your son is supposed to be born.
Come on,
Joe. You didn't know that? Come on, Joe,
I did not.
No, you did, Joe. Joe, you knew that.
I did.
Yeah, New Year's Eve is the NFL, and then New Year's Day is a Monday. So you're not going to be seeing a lot of people watch the Texas-Washington game because it's at almost 9:00, and people are going to be going to work on Tuesday.
No one's going to work the next day.
Who's not going to work?
Joe, it's Tuesday.
Everybody goes back to work after New Year's, right?
No, I think everyone takes the extra day.
That's the way it falls. Because think about it, you're going to be off most of the time. Like, no one's going to go back Tuesday.
You know what? It's because the working man's a sucker, right? Working man is a sucker.
Let's all go back on Wednesday. Screw it!
And let's make the Super Bowl a national holiday.
Yes!
All I know is I think people are getting confused with the word deserving and best. Yeah, but if it was deserving, Florida State deserves to be in. But the best four teams right now, to me, with the exception, I put Georgia like 4A, 4B with Texas. But the four best teams, I truly believe that the College Football Committee got it right. You got Michigan, they won the Big Ten, undefeated. You got Alabama, they won the toughest conference in all of football, and they beat the number one team. They're in. Texas, they won their conference, won comfortably. They took care of business. And then at Washington, and probably, sadly, the last year of the Pac-12 and one of the best Pac-12 years in a long time, they went undefeated. So they are deserving, and they are one of the four best. The only argument to me, it's not Florida State. It's more Georgia than it would be Florida State for me. That's crazy. I get it, but I would think Georgia has a better case than Florida State.
The deserving question is Florida State. Yes, they're the better argument. To the better team, yes.
Than Georgia?
Listen.
Deserving? Yes.
Is Florida
better?
State.
No.
And that's the difference between the questioning. And because when you tell a team to go undefeated, especially in a Power 5, this isn't Liberty, this isn't Central Florida going undefeated in the AAC or whatever. This is the ACC, bro. Like one of the four,
which is a bad conference, though.
You would consider them
a Power 5. It is a Power 5.
And if anything, Trev,
a little bit.
They've always been the
guys. I think the AAC is better than the ACC.
It might be. But it's not a Power 5 conference, and you have to respect the Power 5s.
And they've always
been supposed to.
And they're always been looked ahead. And they've always been looked ahead of the Pac-12. Pac-12 was always the fifth.
It just shows the value of the. It just shows the true value of the ACC compared amongst the others. That's just what it shows me is that they don't have no value for the ACC. Get out of the ACC and go somewhere else.
Somebody posted a thing.
The best information I could give you is get out of the ACC, Florida State, or any team that feels like.
Unfortunately, the division, the whole conference was down. Miami didn't live up to the billing. Clemson,
North Carolina, Duke, Clemson was down.
We thought North Carolina, maybe 10-2 would have been a good thing. Maybe Clemson, they looked like they were awful. Duke's quarterback Riley Leonard got hurt. They fell apart.
All I know is
Let me ask you this. Was there a stupider move in the history of college sports than Syracuse leaving the Big East and going to the ACC, where they've become completely irrelevant in football and in basketball? Like, I know you like that ACC money, but how do you like not going to the tournament? How do you like not bowling I mean, that's what Syracuse has become, and it's heartbreaking because they were the master of the Big East. Sharing that really with UConn.
I mean, think about what the Big East used to be.
Now look at where Syracuse is now. They're a has-been. And it's absolutely pathetic because they wanted a little bit more money to pour in.
Joe,
and now
you know
they're completely irrelevant.
Joe, it's 2023. You know it's all about the money nowadays.
Yeah, 100%, and it's sickening. And and it's a shame. I feel bad for fans who are genuinely like upset and disturbed by FSU getting left out, and it's like you're not paying attention. I've been warning about this for years. That when the NCAA allowed this Power 5 committee to sort of take over things, you weren't going to like the results.
Nope.
And people don't like the results, and it's only going to get worse.
Yep. Amen to that. You can only hope for it, but it's the harsh reality. Sometimes you're not always going to get what you want, and that's just the way it is. It's a cruel world, and it's a harsh reality. It's a harsh reality, but this is the final year of the 14 college football playoff. Next year, we move on to 12. And there will still be some upset fans. I believe that the College Football Committee got it right, and I think you have two outstanding matchups. I think Michigan-Bama is either way, 50-50 for me. It's Bama. You never sometimes go against Saban. And then that Texas-Washington game, man, that's going to be quite a battle. I really do believe these are going to be two great matchups.
I told you what's going to happen, Trev, probably. It's going to be a rematch, Texas versus
Alabama.
Bama.
Yeah, Ted.
And Bama's going to win it, Joe. They're going to beat Texas, revenge the loss, and we're just going to be like...
Ted, you can also have a rematch.
And we're going to be like, are you effing... Again, Bama wins it again?
Ted, you can have a rematch.
Everyone's going to be like, F you suck. It's like the movie.
Ted, you can also have a matchup of Washington-Michigan, the 1992 national championship, the last time Washington won a national championship. So
listen, I'll put it this way: it'd be good to see something different. I'll just put it that
wouldn't
way.
it?
Something different.
But don't worry, Saban will be holding up his 7th or 8th championship, and everybody will be like,
I'll tell you one thing. I would listen. I know you hate it. I would love for Michigan to win in Harbaugh in the NCAA to give him the title.
No,
after everything, you suspended me twice and all the stuff. Hey, guess what?
No.
Is it not like Roger Goodell having to hand Tom Brady the?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
We do live for those moments, don't we?
Guys, I'm just going to say right now, it's December 5th, and I'm just going to give you my prediction who I think is going to win. Give it to me, baby. Give me a little roll tide. We got the Tide, baby. I got the Tide. I'm going Tide versus Washington. I was impressed with Washington over Oregon because I really thought Oregon was going to beat them, and they did not. But the college football playoff is set, and I can't wait for it. But NFL and football is sadly coming to a close. We're going to be having the Joseph Aguirre on more because I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of things heating up in baseball right now. Where is Shohei Ohtani going? He's supposed to be making his decision within this week. I've been seeing a lot of Atlanta Braves guys. If Shohei Ohtani goes to the Atlanta Braves, they'll still lose to the Phillies. They're still going to lose to the Phillies. All I care about is come on, Ted, say it with me. Yamamoto. I want Yamamoto. I want the duo. I want the duo of Soto and Yamamoto. Even though his last name is not Yamamoto. I want Yamamoto. Give me Soto. I've been saying it for years, guys. I've been saying it for years. You know how I feel about this. I don't care if it's a one-year rental. We're going to sign him. We're going to sign him to $500 million, and he's going to be the next great left fielder or the next great outfielder for us and the next great left-handed bat in our offense, and he's going to take us to the promised land.
Yeah, listen, not for nothing. If I'm the Yankees, I know like kind of one of the holdups right now is that they really want Michael King, and I love Michael King, but bye, just go. What are you kidding me? For Juan Soto? I think it's just
Joe. I just think before I'm not going to add on to it. I just think it's a factor of like the rental possible.
Oh, sure. I get that. And that would be a bummer. But if you're smart, you're also going to ask for a window to negotiate. Scott Boras at a certain number will say yes. Okay. If you $501 million.
Whatever.
It's only money. And the best part is it's not your money. It's not my money. It's not his money. It's Hank's money or Hal's money. I don't care. Let them spend it. Everybody bitches. They're not going to go out and do it. And then they'll either do it or they won't. And that, right? Everyone's setting up for the Yankees are going to be all in there. King Joffrey, whatever.
King Tut, give me it all. I don't give a shit.
Whatever you want. I don't have a problem with the Yankees giving up 7 players, even in a 1-year rental situation, because not for nothing. Look, if the Yankees get to the All-Star break this year and they're 20 games out, trade Juan Soto. somebody will take him for the playoff run. But no, I look, you've said it all the time, Trev. A superstar at 25 years old. If ever you're going to sign a guy to a 10, 12, 13-year deal, do it when he's 25 and already a superstar in the sport. You look at the deals last year that Trey Turner and Bogarts got. Yeah. Those gentlemen will be in their early 40s when those contracts expire, 41, 42 years old. Mm-hmm. You could give this kid right now a 15-year deal, and he'd only be 40 at the end of it. Guys, okay, you're not going 15, you're going 10. He'll be 35. He'll be happy because he'll still be in the prime of his career. He could squeeze out another 3 or 4 year deal, and he'll be happy. So you give him 10, $500 million. You pair him off with Aaron Judge for the next decade. The only other thing, Trev, that you got to figure out is how can you move Giancarlo Stanton in that albatross of a contract, because that guy's got to go, and he's got to go quick. There's no way Big G can be in this lineup again next year.
All I know
Juan
is
Soto's in it.
All I know is I don't care who you trade Aaron Boone. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, just trade Aaron Boone. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see what happens as the MLB winter meetings are underway. So a lot's going to be happening in the MLB within this week.
By the way, Cash and Booney are going to be talking to the media this afternoon. And
great. So they can tell us the same thing they've been telling us the past 10 years. Like, everything's going fine. We're going to be okay. We're going to be
probably. Some people are slightly hopeful. Maybe there's more to it, but that will be happening this afternoon.
All I know is the Yankees are aggressively trying to go after Soto, and they're trying to go after the Japanese pitcher too. So we'll see what happens. A lot can be happening in the Yankee world. We hope, because right now football for New York fans, again, is disappointing like baseball. But ladies and gentlemen, another great episode. Joseph Aguirre joining us. It's been long overdue. Got to get him back on.
Head of the pack on Yamamoto.
Glad to be
back.
Yankees
are head of the pack. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see how much they offer him. Did anybody see quickly before I get off how much Bellinger was asking for? I saw north of $250 million for Cody Bellinger. Just saying, that's
wow.
I saw something of a report on a Yankee Twitter page of somebody. I forgot who it was who reported it, but maybe asking for almost 250. I know he had a great year, but 250 million.
He had a pretty good year.
He had a great year.
Say great.
He was great the second half of the season. If you look at his numbers,
he was very good.
He led the Cubs. He was one of the main reasons they were in the playoff contention.
250 million good?
No. There's not a lot of players that are 250 million good.
No, there's definitely not. You got to do better than. I mean, look. Great season, great bounce back for him. I agree with you, but he's out of his mind if he thinks he's worth that. Is he a Boris guy too? Must be.
I was about to ask, is he a Boris guy?
Only a Boris guy.
Only a Boris guy would say something like that.
I'm worth 400 million easy. Oh, Boris guy, you know it.
Just give Juan Soto 8 years, 400 million. So that's it.
Yeah.
Bada boom, bada bang. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Keys to the City. Ted, I won't say the name and our name 6 times because Ted said I said it like 10 times in the beginning of the show, but we had the Joseph Aguirre join us. The trio was back, the Italian Stallions. Tommy Cutlets, give me a win this week, baby. Well, I know you Giant fans don't want to win, but we need Tommy
Eagles are going to probably re-sign Sue.
Eagles?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just trying to bring the whole gang just to get their asses kicked again by San Fran. It's okay. We need Tommy Cutlets. Say it with me. One of you guys
finally, Jets are releasing Tim Boyle. Thank you.
Somebody give me a Tommy Cutlets t-shirt. That's all I want for Christmas.
Nope.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're Keys to the City. We'll see you next episode. We are out.
You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.